I'm Bill Bailey, and welcome to Comics Choice. This is the show where I ask some of my favourite comedians to choose some of their favourite comedians. It's like I'm a celebrity, except it's I'm a comedian. Do I have to eat these worms? Without the worm element. The British Comedy Awards are nearly upon us, like a giant tiger driven mad with hunger and tinnitus. And in the run-up to the awards on Saturday, my guests are invited to pick their fantasy list of nominees and winners as if it were a real award show, without the accompanying bitterness and recriminations. My guest tonight is an accomplished stand-up and comic actor. He's got a fine head of hair, and he's so clean you could eat your dinner off his face. Who could it be?
Where'd you keep your salt?
See that cupboard just above you? Top shelf right at the back. There's a leaflet from the hospital explaining why it's bad for your arteries. I'm not very good at impressions. I can do dog getting its paw caught in a car door. I can do that. Me and Rebecca went through a similar thing. Never saw each other. We became strangers. You know what? You work through it, yeah? Always remember, this too shall pass.
Rebecca divorced you and moved to Jersey.
Ipso facto, problem solved. Service!
Please welcome Alan Davies.
Good evening, sir.
All right.
Hello. Very pleasant, very comfy.
All right, isn't it?
Very nice.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
This show, basically, is about comedy and your favourite comedians and comedy, what you have liked over the years.
Yes.
And when you were a kid, what was the sort of comedy that you liked to watch?
I think we watched a lot of sitcoms.
Yeah.
In those days, you know, back before the war... No, it was the 70s.
It was a lovely period, wasn't it?
A good period for sitcoms
Yeah.
and trade unions were both very active.
Yeah.
And the sitcoms are the ones that were funny. Nowadays, that slot around 7:30 to 8:30-ish tends to be all soaps, which have spread through the schedule like some awful virus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they've blown away the area that used to be the shows like The Good Life and I Being Served and Dad's Army and Porridge and Ain't No Hot Mum.
Yeah.
And so that was our staple diet. With the TV in our house, when we got in from school, the TV went on and it stayed on till my dad went to bed, when he would unplug it in case it burnt the house down. That was one thing. No one had ever heard of it happening.
No.
But, you know, I mean, of course, any electrical device can be a hazard, especially in the bath.
Yeah. Your first category is Best Male Comic.
Yes.
Now, your first nominee is Dave Allen. Why Dave Allen?
Well, Dave Allen was... it was a very, very popular Saturday night show. He only made, I think, about 40 episodes of his show, Dave Allen at Large.
Between 1971 and 1979.
Oh, thank you very much. Extra
Dotting the I's, crossing the T's.
You had to be allowed to stay up to watch this.
Of course, yeah.
This was a kind of 9 o'clock in the evening show.
So let's remind ourselves, then, of Dave Allen.
I want to make it quite clear that I am not reliant on alcohol in any way to get me right through this. Get away from that! Ba-doom, ba-doom. There were two Irish fellows talking about sex before marriage, and one tells the other, he said, "What do you think about sex before marriage?" He said, "I don't think about it." He said, "Well, I know I never had sex with my wife before we were married. Did you?" He said, "I've no idea. What's her name?"
He used to do a bit of stuff on the stool, and then he'd say, "And now, some sketches." As if, I'm going to have a cigarette. Very rare you see a stall like that now, unless you're going to a Westlife concert. But he was... and he'd have a fag and a whiskey on the go. And he'd tell jokes, and he was a storyteller.
Yeah.
And he was very charismatic and very casual. And then years later, in about 1991 or something, I saw him do a stand-up show in the West End. And I went along, I was working as a comic by then, and it was the best hour of stand-up, still, to this day, I think I've ever seen. My face was aching. And I thought I was privileged to do an interview with him after that for a newspaper, and I said, you know, you really... I was in pain watching you laughing so much.
Yeah.
And he said, you do have to be careful. And he wasn't being cocky. He's
What, in case somebody-
he's so funny that you can hurt people.
Yeah.
And he did tell me a story that someone laughed so much at the front of one of his shows that they broke a rib. He was a profoundly and extraordinarily funny comedian.
All right, your second nominee is some bloke, I don't know, what's he called? Noel Fielding.
Noel Fielding, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What, the slacker goth?
The slacker goth.
The sexy little jazz weasel?
There's something about Noel that I really enjoy the Mighty Boosh. It's got a turn of phrase and a way with words and a lightness of touch. He's also got a very unusual comic style in that he's very self-assured and cool and confident.
Yeah.
So despite being all of the things that ought to make him irritating and annoying, he's actually very, very charming and enjoyable. He's also very, very good at football, which endears me to any man.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I think he's an excellent quiz panel show
Yeah, well,
captain.
let's not go into that, really. Let's have a little look at the job-stealing little skinny football-playing sexy goth, shall we? Here we go.
It's a great show.
I always preferred Julian.
Yeah.
So, and another thing, right? I was in the Groucho Club. I don't normally frequent places like that. I found myself in there, and I fancied a mojito. You know the mojito drink?
I do.
And I said, can I have a mojito, please? And they said, oh, no, can't, sorry. Noel Fielding came in earlier, and he's had all the limes. Right? So, not only has he got the Buzzcocks gear, I couldn't even have a drink that night. Oh, Mr. Fielding's had all the limes.
He's a very unique talent.
Yeah.
Top marks.
Good. Yeah, very good. So, your third nominee for Best Male Comic is Tony Hancock.
Tony Hancock, yes. The legendary Tony Hancock.
Hancock's half-hour.
This won't hurt. You'll just feel a slight prick on the end of your thumb. But you came here to give us some of your blood.
Well, you've just had it.
That's just a smear.
It may be just a smear to you, mate, but it's life and death to some poor wretch.
I've just taken a sample to test.
A sample? How much do you want, then?
Well, a pint, of course.
A pint? Have you gone raving mad? You must be joking.
A pint is a perfectly normal quantity to take.
You don't seriously expect me to believe that? I mean, I came in here in all good faith to help me country. I don't mind giving a reasonable amount, but a pint? That's very nearly an armful.
Hancock had a really universal appeal. There was a decade when he was the most popular man, perhaps in the country.
Yeah.
It just had a very natural delivery. There was a kind of indignant, stuck-up, aspiring middle-class Englishness about him. Everything that's slightly wrong about being English, he caught
Exaggerated,
perfectly.
yeah.
And his life ended very sadly and prematurely.
Do you think that is a bit of a cliche, that the idea of comics being troubled? Is that true? All comedians are all alcoholics and depressed?
Good comedians have quite unusual minds. They make quite unusual connections, and it's the unusual connections that lead to the comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are lots of people who are depressed alcoholics who are not at all funny.
That's true. Yeah.
And they're called actors.
Yeah. So, OK, who is your winner, then? Who do you pick as a winner?
Well, I decided to choose Dave Allen as my winner, really because I was very lucky to see him do that show in the West End, and it's such a memorable show. Still, 20 years ago, I still think about that, and he, to my mind, was the finest male comic.
Here's your winner, Dave Allen.
At a party, cocktail party, goes up to the hostess and says, excuse me, madam, but do lemons have feathers? She said, I beg your pardon? Do lemons have feathers? She said, I don't think so. Why? She said, well, in that case, I've just squeezed your canary into my drink.